Well, the fact is that being simple is not simple. So it takes a lot of work, and I think it's like looking at an Apple product and thinking, well, that, how hard was that to make? Well, obviously it was very hard. Or you look at an ad that you really love and you think that it was so simple and clear, but it takes tons of work and thinking and whittling it down and making it perfect to make it feel simple. So simplicity is deceptive in that it looks easier than it really is. So that's why people probably don't think about it too much, because they think, well, obviously we can be simple. So my advice to managers really is think about that, and don't compromise on when all the little things that start nibbling away at the idea, the product or the service or whatever it is. At the end, you can look at it and think like, wow, that's kind of not like what we started with. And it's changed because you let too many opinions get in the way, or whatever is the case. I think what was amazing about Steve was his ability to just laser focus on something and not let anyone get in the way of it, and push people to do what he envisioned, as opposed to getting sidetracked by, well, it's going to be a little too hard to do this process. They would make vendors reinvent their processes to make what they wanted. They didn't take no for an answer, I guess. And I would only caution that Steve Jobs ruffled some feathers, obviously, because he could be somewhat brutal, and I don't believe you need to be brutal. You don't need to lose all your friends and everything to believe in simplicity and promote it and enforce it, but it's a question of making sure you don't go off track.
Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, and that wasn't just a bullshit slogan. It actually was really what we've been striving for.
Apple has succeeded by making very few products if you look at what they make compared to what the other guys make. My favorite example is the laptop world, where Apple makes 6 models of laptop, and Dell makes 42, and HP makes 49. And they're like, it takes hours to find these things on their site. I did that myself when I compiled those numbers, but they have them all. They're distinct models with silly names, and people don't go away from their experience with Apple thinking, wow, they didn't give me much choice. They instead feel like, wow, that gave me a lot of clarity. And I think people are happier when they feel like you're being honest and straightforward, and this is what I get. It's either a super thin computer or a full-powered one, and then I pick the things I want in it. Technically, there's probably more than 40 models available from Apple, but it's the way they present it that makes it really different from what the other guys do. Bringing ideas to Steve was always an adventure, because you never knew how he would react. Being a human being, I mean, he could have different moods, and certain days might like something more than another, but he was pretty consistent. We could love something and show it to him, and he might look at it and think like, well, it's not what he was thinking, and maybe you should try again, kind of a thing. So sometimes he would love things the first time around, other times we'd have to go back and do them some more, but I think he had a gut reaction. I think Steve relied a lot on his intuition, and I think that's a good thing too, where some companies, they'll say, okay, we get it, now we want to study it, and we want to research it, and all that kind of thing, and Steve wanted no part of that. It was like, is that good or bad? Do I like it or do I not like it? That's pretty much the way he worked, and I think that's a very refreshing thing when you work with a lot of big companies. Most big companies have all these procedures and make things very complicated. And Steve was much more of the do I like it or not school. And more times than not, he would tell you why he didn't like it, so you'd have a good idea of what to do when you had to try again. I think it's going to be very difficult to replace Steve Jobs, and I think everyone knows that, but you got Tim Cook and Johnny Ive, and the two of them together kind of replicate Steve to one degree or another. Tim being a really great operations guy, Johnny being more of the concept and aesthetics guy. But I think they all have the values, and I think Steve did a great job of instilling those values into the company. So I don't have a lot of doubts at this point, but I acknowledge that nothing is forever, and who knows what will happen in the future. But it's about time for an Apple innovation. They've been kind of on a 3-year cycle, and this is the 3rd year. So whether it's a watch or a television, personally, I like the idea of a watch, but we'll see. You never know also. I mean, there's an expectation that there will always be big revolutions, and at some point, maybe that doesn't happen every 3 years. Maybe there are only so many things we can revolutionize here. There might just be like, you know, a new version of a phone that's not what you thought it was or something like that. But Apple keeps seeking out these markets that need to be shaken up, whether it's a watch or a TV coming up next, who knows. But you know, we'll see how many of those markets remain to be revolutionized in the future. Simplicity is about being concise, about being clear, about being fast, that you get in a second what it is you're trying to communicate.